Tonight's edition of the Gagley Archives comes to you from North 13th Studios in Brigantine, New Jersey.
And we invite you, wherever you are, whether you're at home or whatever, to kick your shoes off and put your feet up and lean back and get yourself a cup of coffee or something and just relax and join us in enjoying some very quiet and romantic and relaxed music for a couple of hours.
Pictures for your mind. Pictures for your mind.
If trouble never happened and sorrow never came, the only thing you'd know about your neighbor is his name. If all your days were bright and fair and certain was your place, you'd only know a fellow by the features of his face.
Pictures for your mind.
This is the water, and this is the well. Drink full and ascend.
Pictures for your mind.
This is future. This is past.
Pictures for your mind.
You can understand people better if you look at them, no matter how old or impressive they may be, as if they are children. For most of us, never mature. We simply grow taller.
Pictures for your mind.
You are far away.
I understand.
In the universe, there are many energy fields which we cannot normally perceive. Some energies have a spiritual source which act upon a person's soul. However, this soul does not exist ab initio, as Orthodox Christianity teaches. It has to be brought into existence by a process of guided self-observation. However, this is rarely achieved owing to man's unique ability to be distracted from spiritual matters by everyday trivia.
Happiness comes only when we push our brains and hearts to the farthest reaches of which we are capable. The purpose of life is to matter, to count, to stand for something, to have it make some difference that we lived at all.
So come, friend, fly with me, the night bird, in stereo.
Listen to the sounds.
Good evening and welcome to the Saturday Night Progressive Rock Outpost. Welcome to the Gagley Archives, your weekly progressive rock reference guide and the definitive source for you, my friends, the progressive rock collectors. Tonight is program 1816 for those of us playing the home game. Tonight we feature a world premiere of the excellent new release from Norwegian guitarist that I can't get enough of, and Hedvig Mollestad, joined by the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra, titled Maternity Beat, from the Rune Gramophone Records label, that moves into the #1 position in this week's Weekly Top 20. It was just last year that she took both the Weekly Top 20 and the Global Progressive Rock Network's Top 100 of 2021 year-end voting by storm with her release Ding Dong, You're Dead, also from the Rune Gramophone Records label. As part of our 30th anniversary weekly spotlights tonight, we travel back this week to September of 1999, when our Gagley Archives hosted event at Doc Watson's Pub in Philadelphia featured a powerhouse double bill of Scott McGill's Hand Farm and French band Nebelnest as part of Laser's Edge Night. It was by far a personal live favorite event for me, and that will always stick out in my mind of how much energy was conveyed that memorable night on the stage in the city of brotherly love. Now, for the first time since that night of September 16th, 1999, as before we featured just a little sneak peek, a track a while back when we got the original DATs, tonight we're going to feature Nebelnest's entire set from that would not only be their first time in Philadelphia, but be the prequel to just 2 nights later when they would perform live in our Z88.9 FM studios on program 605 in what was said by many to be the hottest performance of that intense, brief East Coast tour. So don't miss the second set for this incredible, wonderful flashback. Just following your weekly installment of the Stargazer's Handbook, your guide to all the forthcoming astronomical events for the week, will feature yet another high-charting new release from Berlin, Germany-based band Elder and their amazing new album titled Innate Passage. And coming to us from the Stickman label that moves up to number 7 in this week's weekly Top 20, another powerful album. This week's Philadelphia Progressive Rock Concert Update spotlights the great Steve Hackett as he makes his way to the Keswick Theater on December 8th on the outskirts of Philadelphia in Glenside, PA, as he is featuring his current Seconds Out tour. We'll track what was voted by you, our audience, as the number 1 album, and just recently, the Global Progressive Rock Network's Top 100 of 2021 in his Inside Out music offering titled Surrender of Silence, that went on to also spend 10 consecutive weeks in the top spot of the separate weekly Top 20 as well. Surrender of Silence was Steve's second number 1 in the GPRN's Top 100 history, following just 25 years prior in the Global Progressive Rock Network's Top 100 of 97 with Genesis Revisited, if you remember. Speaking of the GPRN, tonight we'll celebrate a Program Hall of Fame release from what was voted the number 1 album in the Global Progressive Rock Network's Top 100 of 1996 by your audience in Anecdoton's Nucleus, as it was released this week in 1995, starting that Scandinavian dominance of progressive rock, if you remember those days. Our fourth set, Space Out, tracks new psychedelic music out of Los Angeles, California, that debuts at number 15 this week in the weekly Top 20 from Vitskar Suden and their The Faceless King album from the Ripple label, along with By Request, the new offering from the Welsh progressive rock band Magenta, and their latest offering from the Tiger Moth label titled The White Witch, a symphonic trilogy, which is in at number 14 this week. We walk into the vinyl vaults this week to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the late, great Italian artist Franco Battiato and his wonderful 1972 release from the Blah Blah record label titled Pollution, along with some other classics tonight, with a special dedication to one of our longtime listeners, Gil and Patrice, out in Harleysville, Pennsylvania, and the 25th anniversary spotlight on the 1997 Yes live and studio release titled Keys to Ascension 2. That was also in the top spot of the weekly Top 20 this week in 97. Our fifth set this week celebrates the 75th birthday of bass pioneer and longtime friend to the radio program, the legendary Percy Jones. And we're going to feature music from his solo offerings, Cape Catastrophe, Propeller Music, and so much more. We'll close out this week's program with more music from what is the new number 1 album, as I mentioned, in the weekly Top 20 for the week of December 2nd, 2022, and Hedvig Mollestad and the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra's Maternity Beat, once again from the Rune Gramophone Records label. We kick things off tonight with an album that is a personal favorite from this band's catalog, and longtime favorite and top-tier staple to the radio show we know and love is Gentle Giant. Well, it was in the summer of 1972 that the band went into Advision Studios to record the album that we know and love now as Octopus, the 4th release by Gentle Giant. It was their last album with founding member Phil Shulman, the oldest of the Shulman brothers, and it was the first with new drummer John Weathers, who would remain with the band until their dissolution in 1980. Octopus remains a highly regarded example of the progressive rock genre and is generally considered to represent the start of the band's peak period. Now, the title of Octopus was allegedly named by Phil Shulman's wife, Roberta, as a pun on Octo Opus, 8 musical works reflecting the album's 8 tracks. In 2004, Ray Shulman commented that Octopus was probably their best album. He even told us that on our 5-part Gentle Giant documentary. He said, with the exception perhaps of Acquiring the Taste, which is my personal favorite, he said, we started with the idea of writing a song about each member of the band, having a concept in mind, and it was a good starting point for writing out the compositions. He said, I don't know why, but despite the impact of The Who's Tommy and Quadrophenia, almost overnight concept albums were suddenly perceived as pretentious and somewhat naff. Released 50 years ago this week, one of my all-time favorites from the Gentle Giant catalog. This is Octopus. In the opening cut, The Advent of Panurge. Program 1816 commences. Notebooks out.
They're coming over Chariton Bridge. Look, do you see the man who is poor but rich? What do you wish and where do you go? Where to go? Where are you? Where you from? Will you tell me your name? Rest a while, call me your friend. Please stay with me, I'd like to help. Then he said, how can I speak when I'm dry? How can I speak when I'm dry? So bring me aid and I'll answer your dear friend in need. I'd like your help. Please take me home. I'll stay with you. Look at my friend, look around my friend. Look at my friend, look all round you. Look at my friend, take all round you. Look at my friend, look all round you. Hey, friend. Look at my friend. Was made as their bond. Carried him home and provided for his needs and his shelter. This day was done as no other life. Faithfully their vow was made, and from that day they were as one.
The year was 1972.
The Nixon Agnew team receives an overwhelming mandate from the American voters, sweeping every state but one, Massachusetts.
1972.
I'm going to make him an offer again with you.
1972.
How do you get shirts so clean, Mr. Lee?
Ancient Chinese secret.
1972.
Now let's use this drop them pants.
Drop?
Just take them right off.
I mean, what's this all about?
Don't say anything, just do it.
Just drop them, boy.
The year was 1972.
If you want a better orange soda, made with more natural orange flavor than ever before, try Shasta.
The Streets of San Francisco, a Quinn Martin production. Starring Carl Malden. Also starring Michael Douglas.
1972. The year was 1972.
This is Kerry Muneer of Gentle Giant, and you're listening to the Gagley Archives.
Why am I using words no more to say without you? Close the door, put out the lights and go. Late the night, in the night your shadow falls between us. Nevermore, I'll never know there. Memories of sorrow when there's no tomorrow. Sleep while the sweet sorrow wakes my daydream. Sleep while you think of me with kindness. Please remember former days. Sweet the song that once we sang, but silent parting ways. And you know, and you know, and you know, long ago when first we made our promise, empty words, I wonder did you know? Forgive is gone and tells no call to live, and we who look in beauty's law must now through all think back on before. The tears that first I cried no more, your love has come and gone no more, and we who look in beauty's law must now through all think back on before. Sleep while the sweet sorrow wakes my daydream. Sleep while you think of me with kindness. Please remember former days. And you know, and you know, and you know, when we two parted in tears and silence, lost the days, the parting ways. Fare thee well, you that was once dear to me, think of me. With kindness, think of me.
Hi, I'm Ray Shulman of Gentle Giant, and you're listening to sorry, I'll do that again.
In all, each man, in all men, and all men in each man. He can see, she can see, she can see whatever. You may know what I don't know, but not that I don't know it. Well, I can tell you, so you will. To tell me all men in all men in each man. whatever. You may know what I don't know, but not that I don't know it. But I can tell you, so you will have to tell me all. It hurts him to think that she is hurting her by him. To think that she thinks he is hurting her by making her feel guilty as he hurting him by thinking she wants to hurt, he wants him to get him to want to hurt, she pretends she wants him to get she pretends. So you will have to tell me all. I get what I deserve. I deserve what I get. I have it, so I deserve it. I deserve it more. I have it. I get what I deserve. I deserve what I get. I have it, so I deserve.
Coming to us from the Vertigo Records label, released in the United Kingdom on December 1st of 72. It actually came out in February of 73 in the United States on Columbia Records. That was Gentle Giant's Octopus. Featured the track right there that is one of the most popular requested on the Gagley archives over the years of all progressive rock fans of Gentle Giant. That was the piece called Knots. Prior to that, my personal favorite, Think of Me with Kindness, a beautiful Kerry Meniere piece. And we started out program 1816 with the opening cut on the album called The Advent of Panurge, featuring Gary Green, Kerry Meniere, along with Derek Shulman. Again, the last album with Phil Shulman. Ray Shulman on this, and of course John Weathers. This would be his first with the band, and he'd stayed with the band until 1980. And as I stated in the intro, the title came from Phil's wife Roberta, as a pun on Octo Opus. Once again, 8 musical tracks reflecting the band's 8 songs on the album. As I also mentioned, Ray said that even on our 5-part documentary that this was one of his personal favorites. The album maintained Gentle Giant's trademark of those long, challenging, integrated styles, and one of the highlights was that track Knots that we just featured, an intricate, madrigal-styled vocal workout. And the album's lyrics are generally based on literature and philosophy. The Advent of Panurge is inspired by the books of Gargantua and Pantagruel by Francois Rabelais. A Cry for Everyone is inspired by the work and beliefs of Algerian French writer Albert Camus, while the song Knots that we just heard is inspired by the book Knots by the Scottish psychiatrist R.D. Laing. In 2015, you may remember Stephen Wilson being the Renaissance man that he is, he did that incredible remix on CD and Blu-ray on the band's Alucard record label. Had 3 tracks which could not be discreetly remixed since one multi-track reel was missing. Instead, those 3 tracks were upmixed to 5.1 surround using the Penteo surround software. The rest of the tracks, all 5, were done by Stephen Wilson, remixing in 5.1. Now, the UK release on Vertigo featured Roger Dean, no less, who'd been famous for his work with Yes. Dean's logo appears inside the lyrics booklet. The US and Canadian offering, however, were released by Columbia and used a different cover done by Charles White. Early versions of this cover were die cut into a jar shape. All Music Online magazine would go on to say that the album was pretty much positive from them, having declared the Octopus release as an album that withstood the test of time a lot better than anyone might have expected. In the Q and Mojo Classic Special Edition, Pink Floyd, The Story of Progressive Rock, the album came in at number 16 in its list of 40 cosmic rock albums. In the 100 Greatest Progressive Rock Albums of All Time by Prog Magazine, Octopus stood at number 65. In 2013, progressive death metal band Witherscape covered the track A Cry for Everyone and issued it for release on their Inheritance album. The 2015 reissue, done by Stephen Wilson, entered the BBC Rock Chart at number 34, no less. And again, it's a long-time personal favorite, with John Berg doing the cover concept and design, and some great work there. It peaked in the U.S. Billboard chart number 170, and nonetheless, it's still a personal all-time favorite. Recent news on Gentle Giant. I've been getting a lot of notes from the band as of late because they've got great news. Their holiday sale will be ending on Sunday, so you got to do this now while you're listening to the radio program. Take advantage and get in time for the holidays. If you're a diehard Gentle Giant fan, don't miss this. They've got great t-shirts, the civilian shirt. They've got the shirt that I have, the 1975 tour shirt, the Gentle Giant freehand long sleeve, which I really want, the Gentle Giant logo hoodie. How about that? I want that. And of course, my favorite, which I'm wearing as we speak, the Gentle Giant logo winter hat. And all of their accessories, it's 10% off. That includes the embroidered patches, the Gentle Giant puzzle slip mat, the 12-inch felt slip mat, the limited edition trading cards. I mean, hello, get up and get on it. Check out their website. They're at gentlegiantmusic.com. Now, in recent news on releases, how about this? Just a couple months back, they did the Front Row Center. That was a 10 LP box set covering the U.S. dates 1976 to 1980. 4 classic years of U.S. tours, none of which had appeared on vinyl before. Beautiful set features a 60-page book, memorabilia, photographs, and came out on the Madfish Records label on September 23rd of 2022. Also earlier this year, they had the new remastered release of Civilian that came out on May 20th of 2022. And Noah Schulman did his music video in the springtime of Heroes No More and also did the song Inside Out. So check it out. Also, Dan Barrett, creator of the website for the band, has published a new book titled Efficient Linux at the Command Line for all you techers out there. But there you have it. Gentle Giant. Check out the website, gentlegiantmusic.com. They're also on Facebook. And again, get on those right now. 10% off all accessories, 20% off all apparel. Get up and get on it, and I got to tell you, they've got some great stuff on the website. Go to gentlegiantband.com, and the t-shirts and the hoodies, I cannot get enough of it. And they're also on Facebook, by the way, Gentle Giant Band, and there's a recent interview with our longtime friend Gary Green that was done just recently from December 1st, to be specific, if you're interested. A lot of you guys have been asking us to get Gary back on the show because you know it'll be full of laughs, so we'll let you know. On the other side of this, my friends, program 1816 continues on with a Global Progressive Rock Network Hall of Fame album released this time back in 1995 that wound up being not only part of the Scandinavian invasion of progressive rock in the mid-90s, but became the number 1 album as voted by you, our listeners, in the top 100 of 96. Stay tuned.
A portion of tonight's radio broadcast was brought to you by AuralMoon.com, the net's progressive rock garden. At AuralMoon.com, you can listen to the best in progressive rock streamed live to your desktop, smartphone or iPhone, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Classic stuff you've heard and obscure albums you wish you had. with interactive requests and a live chat with the Gagley Archives listeners on Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, including a replay of Saturday night's program Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for our European audience, celebrating the power and majesty of progressive rock. Oralmoon.com, your web address for musical redemption.
47 degrees and raining right here on the coastline of Brigantine, New Jersey, here at home base. North 13th Studios, all 6.387 square miles of it, just outside the borders of both Galloway and Smithville, New Jersey to our west, Atlantic City and Ventnor to our south, the murky waters of the Atlantic Ocean to our east, and Beach Haven to our north. And welcome to yet another edition of the Gagley Archives, program 1816, for those of you tracking and cataloging our weekly radio program. Hope you guys had a great week. I hope, first and foremost, you had a great Thanksgiving holiday for those of you listening stateside. I had my first Thanksgiving of no turkey, no pavo, as mi esposa would say. We went to the great Ken Golden's for their edition of Thanksgiving, which was prime rib. And goddamn, it was good. Also got my favorite thing to do on Thanksgiving, watching football. As always, it was great. And I hope you had a productive week and weekend. And thanks for all the commentary. Last Saturday night, we did the look back on all of our number one albums from 1991 to 2020, I think, at the point, because the show was from, I think, about 2 years ago. And when many of you ask, do I have any personal favorite radio shows? Well, that is one of them, because those are shows that we worked so hard through the course of the 11 months to put together what was, back in the day, from 1995 all the way up until 2018, a 3-part radio show. And this went on for many years, where we would start at number 100, take it to number 67, part 2, which would be next week. Technically speaking, it would be, actually this week would be part 2. The following week would be part 3, which would be the final 30 discs. Well, just recently, once we relocated permanently to North 13th Studios here, we wound up moving it to January. But this would be the time. Thanksgiving weekend for so many years was the kickoff of the Top 100. And we're going to have some voting on our Facebook page for all the top albums that came out this year. And there were so many great releases in 2022. There are releases that were so good that we didn't even get to some of them. That's how great some of these albums are. And I'm not being facetious or sarcastic, but there really was some great albums this year. But I hope you guys had a great holiday weekend. I hope you guys jumped on the Black Monday, which is all the internet sales. That's how we do our shopping, because there is no way in hell I'm going out on Black Friday. I know my sister would, but there's just no way. But again, I can't thank you guys enough for some of the great commentary and some of the great flashback memories of some of those top 100s. They were so much fun. And once we arrived at number 1, man, it was, all the endorphins, because, yeah, you're radio TJ, you're not running, the New York City Marathon, but the fact that it took 3 weeks to do, and all the audio production that went involved, and then there were some photos we posted of how we organized the CDs literally on the floor, going from, over the course of Halloween to Thanksgiving, we would be moving CDs at more number, this one was at number 56, now it's down to 59, because the votes would be coming in all through the course of those 3 weeks. And then we would do the compilation, and by the time Thanksgiving morning arrived, we knew who was going to be in the top 10, and who was going to be at least edging in to get in at number 100. So don't worry, this year will be just as great. That'll be the first 2 weeks of January of 2023. But again, we got a great show up tonight, as we mentioned at the start of our third set tonight, just following your weekly installment of the Stargazer's Handbook. We've got new music from Berlin, Germany, the band Elder, and their album Innate Passage. That is at number 7 in this week's weekly top 20. The Philadelphia Progressive Rock Concert Update will look at Steve Hackett. He makes his way to the Keswick Theater on December 8th. I hope you guys are going to get out to see that. Also tonight, in our premiere spot, and that is up in just a bit, we've got the excellent new album from a guitarist that I cannot get enough of, because every time she releases an album, it just rocks not only the weekly top 20, but the incoming emails about many of you wanting us to have her on the show. We tried this a couple years ago. I think she was very busy touring at the time, in the great Hedvig Mollestad. and she's joined by the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra. The new release is called Maternity Beat. Comes to us from the Rune Gramophone Records label. And I'll tell you an interesting story here, because it was going to be featured last Saturday, but once we did the look back on the number one albums, the plan was to open tonight's show with the 50th anniversary of Banco del Mutuo Soccorso's Darwin, as it's also celebrating an anniversary. And of course, Banco was still looking to be in the top spot of the weekly top 20. But last week, Hedvig's album debuted at number 2. And then this week, people said, when are you going to play this? And it was a surge of emails, 25 emails over the course of a week and a half, just for that album. In fact, we didn't even know it was officially out, the album, but it came out on November 25th, I believe. But that is your new number one album. So we're going to feature that in the premiere spot. And following that, we've got music in our second set from Nebelnest, recorded back on September 16th of 99 as part of our 30th anniversary spotlights. So we got a great show up tonight. We're also going to close out with Hedvig's album as well. And speaking of number one albums, it was this time back in 1995, 27 years ago, that as the Scandinavian progressive rock invasion was happening with bands like Anglagard, Landberg, and this band Anecdoten being one of them, they had put out what would be their second release, titled Nucleus. Now, while it was too late to really be counted in the top 195, there was no doubt it was going to be in the top 196, and it did so ultimately by your audience in the Mr. Poll that we ran that year. And it would be their second release from the Swedish powerhouse, and despite some growth from their King Crimson roots, as one writer said, this album showed that Anecdoten still remarkably sounded like Red. They had the distorted Rhodes piano, and they had the overused pattern of alternating metallic verses clouded with bass guitar and hi-hat, sounding like a metal band at times, and with the choruses of mellotron, cello, and ride cymbals. This album shows that they were moving on and maturing. And I got to tell you, there was something so powerful about this release. And if you remember the 93 album The Mod, which is a classic in the underground scene, which blending that progressive attack and the symphonic darkness of Crimson with the sensibility and beauty of Nordic songwriting, nothing about the perhaps naive The Mod could have prepared the listener for the shocking verification that came out with this one. And from 93 to 95, the quartet's artistic voices had been brought to perfection. And it turned out an album that really cannot be compared to any other. Its power, its originality, excessive cravings, the mayhem, the complexity, including this opening piece that gets me every time I hear it. It's like a musical painting of the Beauty and the Beast. It wound up spending several weeks in the top spot of our separate weekly top 29 weeks from the year of 1996 through to the end. And you voted it in the Mr. Poll website that we launched at the month of October of that year as the number one album in the Global Progressive Rock Network's Top 100 of 1996. The anniversary, 27 years old. It's a Hall of Fame album, which means it gets an anniversary spotlight every year. This is Anecdoten's Nucleus in the title cut, your number one album from the Top 100 of 96.
The year was 1995.
Just what is this main artery of the information superhighway?
Every business, no matter how large and no matter how small, will be on the internet in the year 2000. It's the primary way that people will look up information. It will replace the yellow pages as we know it today.
Are a lot of people just getting on to the internet because they feel that they have to get onto the playing field, so to speak?
Well, it's very hip to be on the internet right now.
1995.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
1995.
How sweet it is! Well, there's not many people left in this building, and they've all gone home. And there it is. Games are now 3-0 in favor of the Flyers as they walk right into Madison Square Garden and absolutely devastated the New York Rangers.
1995.
I would like to demonstrate for you the Al Gore version of the Macarena. Would you like to see it again?
The year was 1995.
Hello, my name is Niklas Barker from My Breath of the Wind, and you're listening to Gagley Archives.
Coming to us from their in-house Verta Records label, an album that is like a musical painting of the Beauty and the Beast, as I said earlier. The mixture of brutal, dissonant riffs and fragile, extraordinary melody lines, it's a work of genius. The number one album, the top 100 of 96, that was Anecdoton's Nucleus. We heard the title cut. And recently in 2020, it was released as a digipack with an 8-page booklet. And Hans Fredriksson did a wonderful job remastering. But it's a classic release. Peter Nordens, Jan-Erik Leifstrom, Nicholas Berg, or we know him as Nicholas Barker now, Anna Sophie Dahlberg, the lovely and amazing, and also Helena Kalander did some violin work on this. Tommy Anderson did some Fender Rhodes as well. And it's an amazing release from beginning to end. And again, it turns 27 years old this week, and it was the number one album, the top 100 of 96. It would be the first of two, because then, many, many moons later, in the year of 2015, they landed the top spot with their incredible release, Until All the Ghosts Are Gone, which was another classic. Next Saturday night, we'll look at another album that's celebrating an anniversary that is now even part of an award we give every year called the Nathan Mall Award. And you say, well, why is it called the Nathan Mall Award? Well, when a band comes out of nowhere that we've never heard of before, that just garners tons of requests, becomes a heavy hitter in the weekly top 20, and then obviously gets a lot of votes for the year-end top 100, if especially they're not on a record label, that is called the Nathan Mall Award, because it was in 1998 this time that Nathan Mall released the incredible album with the late great Guy LeBlanc called The Clever Use of Shadows, and it wound up being the number one album in the top 100 of 99. Well, next Saturday night, we're going to do a spotlight on that incredible record as well. Check out Anecdoton's website, anecdoton.se. They're also on Facebook. It's simply Anecdoton. They're on Instagram at AnecdotonHQ, all one word, and on Bandcamp, anecdoton.bandcamp.com. And as usual, let them know you heard it right here on the world's most listened to progressive rock radio program, all because of you, our wonderful listeners, the Gagley Archives. The fog lines are open, which means all of our social media platforms, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all at the name Gagley Archives. We're also on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gagley Archives, on Instagram at instagram.com/Gagley Archives_radio. And of course, our website, gagleyarchives.com/index.asp. And you can always email us, like many of you do, at gagleyarchives@comcast.net. As always, we love to hear what you're enjoying week after week on our program menu. We love to hear your ideas for future programs. We listen to those ideas and suggestions more than you think. In fact, we've had at least 3 emails in the last week and a half about many of you wanting to hear, and I know you guys are looking at the playlist from 10 years ago, and you guys saw the Mayan Apocalypse, and I forgot all about that program. So next Saturday night, I may feature some of that, because there really was some great albums that many of you say, when do you do a show that it's all your favorites? And you don't want to do that. I always say that if I did a show of just what I like, it'd be a boring show. But for the Mayan Apocalypse 10 years ago, I basically did that because everyone was going bonkers thinking that, the Mayan calendar, the world was going to end and everything was just fine. But program 1296 was the program. Go check it out on our website from the 2012 playlist. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And your emails are great. Some of them are so colorful, so funny. And I ask that some of you guys send great emails, but you don't put your name, or you don't put your city, your state, your country. We want to know. We want to know what you're digging, what makes the hair stand up, what makes your eyes weepy, like I get with music. Ask my wife. And we love everything you guys send to us. And even though we may not respond to all of them, trust me when I tell you, we are going to do that Ask Us Anything program. So many great topics you guys covered. There's so much. I mean, it would be a 4-part show, because that's how great some of those emails are. But again, email us, all of the name, Gagley Archives, gagleyarchives@comcast.net. On the flip side, a powerhouse release that took the top spot while we were eating prime rib over the course of the last week. You guys spoke, and boy, did my email account explode with requests. That's right on the other side.
A portion of tonight's radio broadcast was brought to you by House of Prog Radio, your home for progressive music and so much more at houseofprog.com. At House of Prog, you can listen to a world of different styles of the progressive rock genres, with live programming from all around the world, every day of the week. Listeners can interact with global programming and radio shows based in Northern Ireland, Italy, Norway and the United States. House of Prog Radio's mission is to be the best 1970s-style progressive radio station on the internet, welcoming all genres. with a focus on progressive rock, the genres that inspired it, and the genres inspired by it. House of Prog Radio. Now home to the Gagley Archives live on Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, with replays on Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, and Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern, noon UK time. House of Prog Radio, the official station of the Prog Stock Festival.
Hi, my name is Armando Gallo and you're listening to the Gagley Archives.
If you like what you heard tonight, don't keep it a secret. Send your comments and suggestions, in care of the Gagley Archives by emailing gagleyarchives@comcast.net. Visit our website at gagleyarchives.com and also at facebook.com/gagleyarchives. Also visit us on YouTube and Twitter at Gagley Archives. Join us on Instagram at gagleyarchives_radio and visit us on our TV channel at twitch.tv/gagleyarchives. You can contact our North 13th studios in care of your host Tom Gagliardi, 201 North 13th Street, Brigantine, New Jersey, 08203. Follow the websites for the latest in progressive rock news, concert updates, upcoming guests, in-studio performances and world premieres you will only hear on the Gagley Archives.
Visit our website, as we said, gagleyarchives.com/index.asp. All of the name Gagley Archives, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See our latest video post interview that we did from 2 weeks back with the great Dave Newhouse of the Muffins. He talks about that incredible new box set called Baker's Dozen. And Paul Sears will be joining us to give his angle on this incredible 13-disc box set. And again, big props to Steve Eichenbaum of Cuneiform Records. Once again, friends, we are in the midst of program 1816. And as I said, when you guys send us your emails, please make sure you give us your name, your city, your state, your country, your galaxy, your dimension, your star that you're orbiting. Let us know what you're digging, what you want to hear more of, what you want to see, get enough requests that it will break into the weekly top 20. Do that for us. Well, we got brand new music this is exactly what happened. After we did our interview with Dave Newhouse and we got ready for the holiday, we knew we were going to play the flashback show of the number one albums over the last 30 years. When I came back, there was at least 11 emails that said Hedvig in the subject. And I'm thinking maybe she wanted to be on the show, but here it was just listeners saying, Tom, when are you going to play the new album? Which I didn't even know that Rune Gramophone had put it out. I knew that there was one to come out, but I didn't know that there was one that was out already. Now, she's a Norwegian guitarist, vocalist, and composer. She's known for a series of album releases and collaborations with musicians like John Eberson, Jarl Bernhoft, and Hilde Marie Gjersom. Well, she's got a new release that's out, and she was born in Ålesund. And pardon my Norwegian. She graduated from the Norwegian Academy of Music. Very, very, very musically intelligent. When they say the guys who play football, they have a high football IQ. Well, she's got a high IQ with the incredible ins and outs of compositional writing and her performing. And she's been with a lot of rock and jazz bands, including her own Hedvig Mollestad trio, also Bronco Busters, maybe Songs and Sweet Potatoes, and the band Vom, which is Mester Pogues. She also has a central role in the bands of Jarl Bernhoft and Hilde Marie Gjersom, as I mentioned, and performed with the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra. Well, she's done it again. It was a little over a decade ago she was awarded the Young Jazz Talent of the Year at the Mollestad in 2009. She also played at the 2011 Kongsberg Jazz Festival when she released her debut release, Shoot, in 2011. Leading her own trio, the music bears little resemblance to what she plays with in John Eberson's group. But let me tell you something. This incredible new offering with the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra is something that is put your seatbelt on from beginning to end. Now, this new release comes to us from the Rune Gramophone Records label. And the two tracks we're going to feature, it doesn't do any justice, but her new album is called Maternity Beat. It's her most ambitious work to date. And that's not a proclamation to be taken lightly. And Hedvig has been one of Norway's most adventurous and hardest working musicians since that Molde International Jazz Festival, which named her the Young Jazz Talent of the Year in 2009. And this new album with the 12-piece Trondheim Jazz Orchestra, who, again, she worked with previously with legends like Chick Corea and Joshua Redman as well. Maternity Beat is a sprawling double album and a true career milestone. In addition to encompassing the full evolution of her sound to date, it offers deeply personal meditations on the nature of family and pressing social justice issues. While listeners will no doubt encounter the Mahavishnu Orchestra-inspired fire music that has made the Hedvig Mollestad trio heavyweights in the 21st century fusion and jazz metal, Maternity Beat also expands on the contemplative experimentation showcased on two of her recent solo works, 2020's Akidna and the Arne Nordheim-inspired Tempest Revisited, both of which netted her the Norwegian equivalent of the Grammy, called the Spellemannpris. The sheer sonic and emotional scape of this new album, Maternity Beat, required Hedvig to wear multiple hats: guitar explorer, composer, arranger, improviser, collaborator, and, as the striking title implies, mother. I knew it. The latter role, of course, serves as the album's thematic focus. This represents a novel direction for her, and it's an incredible release from beginning to end. I can't tell you enough how awesome this record is. It debuted at number 2 last week and is now moving into the number 1 spot, pushing Banco to number 2. This is Hedvig Mollestad of the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra. Again, it's called Maternity Beat. This is the track Do Re Mi Mama. New music here on the Gagli Archives. This is Hedvig Mollestad.
And now, a Gagli Archives world premiere.
New music from the Gagli Archives.
Coming to us from the Rune Gramophone Records label, released on November 18th. Debuted at number 2 last week, now is at number 1 in our weekly top 20 for the week of December 2nd. The album is called Maternity Beat, and we featured 2 cuts right there. That was the Maternity Suite that we featured. We also heard Do Re Mi Mama, and again, it's Hedvig Mollestad along with the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra yet again. And there's a lot of different hats, as we mentioned in the intro to this. And she's a new mother as well. So there's a big, big shift in personal energy put into this record. And you can hear it. And she's obviously a guitar explorer, as I mentioned, a composer, an arranger, an improviser, a collaborator. And again, as the striking title implies, now a mother. And that's what, of course, serves as the album's thematic focus, you know. And she also noted that it's a far more personal work that weighed her own privileged experiences with parenting and nurturing against the harsh political realities unfolding before her. Let's not forget, this was a time when graphic images of migrant families drowning at sea were flooding international news. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic, which further drove home how the economic systems in which we are all complicit tear apart humanity's far less fortunate. The harsh contrast of humanity and systemic failures fuels the tense shifts in mood coursing throughout Maternity Beat. Featuring the vocals of Maja-Lis Solberg and also Ingebjørg Lo Bjørnstad, the opening of On the Horizon Part 1 and the Part 2 section are directly references to the migrant crisis. And it has all that full power on the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra side as well. And there's some just beautiful moments on this. There's intense moments. And without a doubt, Maternity Beat, there's no reason to say it couldn't be number 1, because that's how much spirituality is on this. And the boom of musicians interested in cutting-edge forms of fusion and electronic-based improvisation has infused the genre with an urgency relative to our tumultuous times. Again, number 1 in our weekly top 20 for the week of December 2nd, Maternity Beat. We're going to work as hard as we can, friends, to try to get Hedvig Mollestad on the radio program to talk about this incredible new double release. And again, it came out on November 18th. RuneGramophone.no is the record label. Check her out as well. She is on Facebook. You can visit her Facebook site located at facebook.com/Hedvig Mollestad Official. That's HedvigMollestadAdoffical. So I did that all for you. It's Hedvig Mollestad Official, and also a great album cover as well. When we return, my friends, we travel back in time as part of our Gagley Archives 30th anniversary celebration. We travel back to the year that was 1999. And it all took place in the city of brotherly love, my favorite place in the world. Stay tuned.